My name is Abdulqader bin Sahal. As many of you have already seen some of my lectures before, and I'm very excited today to talk about wind power. So in this lecture, we'll explore the fundamentals of wind energy, its technology, and how it has become a key player in the global shift towards renewable energy. We'll also discuss the different types of wind power systems, both onshore and offshore, and we'll look at the growing impact of wind farms worldwide. So without further ado, let's begin. So here's an overview of today's presentation. We start with a brief introduction to wind power, looking at its history and how it works. Then we'll dive into the details of onshore and offshore wind power, discussing how these technologies differ and their unique benefits. Then we'll explore some key statistics on global wind power capacity, followed by a conclusion to summarize the main takeaways. After that, as Dr. Lambert said, we will have, before the Q&A, we'll have a quick exercise, and after that, we're going to open the floor for a Q&A session to answer any questions you may have. All right, so let's start with the introduction. So the first question I pose is, so what exactly is wind power? Well, wind power is the process of using air movement or wind to generate electricity. The wind turns the blades of a turbine, which is connected to a generator, and this generator produces electrical energy. So here are a few key characteristics of wind power to take note of. Well, first, the most important one, it's renewable. Wind energy is continuously replenished by nature. As long as the wind blows, we can generate electricity. Moreover, it's clean. So unlike fossil fuels, wind power doesn't emit any greenhouse gas during operation. This makes it an environmentally friendly source of energy. Thirdly, it's scalable. So wind power can be utilized on both small scales, like individual turbines, or large scales, like wind farms, which contain hundreds of turbines working together. Overall, wind power will be a sustainable and flexible energy source that plays a crucial role in the renewable energy landscape. So let's dive into the historical context of wind power. So in early uses, wind has been harnessed by humans for thousands of years. We know that ancient civilizations used wind power for activities such as sailing, and windmills were often used to grind grain or pump water. By the 12th century, windmills became a common sight across Europe, which were essential for agricultural tasks and water management. As for modern wind turbines, the shift from the windmills to wind turbines occurred in the late 19th century, with the first electric generating wind turbine being built. Over the 20th century, as nations began looking for alternatives to fossil fuels, wind energy technology evolved rapidly, leading to the development of large-scale wind farms. Okay, so now let's look at how wind power works in more detail. Well, wind is created by the uneven heating of the Earth's surface by the sun. When air moves from areas of high pressure to low pressure, this creates a wind. We harness this natural movement using turbines. So as the wind blows, it turns the blades of the wind turbine. These blades are connected to a rotor, which spins a generator. This process converts the mechanical energy of the spinning or kinetic energy of the spinning blades into electric energy. Once the electricity is generated, it is sent to the transformers, which convert the voltage to a suitable level for use in the electric grid, or it's used directly for direct consumption. So why is wind power important today, as we said? Well, first of all, we mentioned its environmental benefits. So wind energy helps in significantly reducing carbon emissions, which is a fight against climate change. It does not release greenhouse gases during operation, so this makes it perfect for this cause. Also, as fossil fuels reserves decline, we need more sources of energy, and wind energy stands out as a long-term, inexhaustible resource, ensuring energy for future generations. This provides energy security, where it can reduce reliance on imported fossil fuels, helping countries achieve the energy independence by utilizing local wind resources. And lastly, there's an economic impact where wind energy development has created a lot of jobs in sectors like manufacturing, installation, and maintenance. Additionally, the long-term economic benefits include reduced electricity generation costs as well when more farms are deployed. So the electricity costs will become even cheaper. So let's take a look at Earth's global circulation patterns to understand, which are important for understanding wind behavior actually. So the movement of air across the planet is influenced by the temperature difference created by the uneven heating of the Earth's surface by the sun, as we say. So these patterns are divided into major cells. So these are called the Hadley cell, the mid-latitude cell, and the polar cell, each playing a role in how the air moves between the equator and the poles. So in the Hadley cell, warm air rises in the equator and moves toward higher latitudes, cooling down and sinking, creating trade winds. The mid-latitude region is dominated by the western lights, and closer to the poles, you find the polar eastern lights. So these global wind patterns affect wind speeds and directions, which are essential for the planning and placement of wind farms. So understanding these circulation patterns allows us to harness wind energy efficiently, especially in high wind areas. So I'm just showing you this to give you an idea that we don't place a wind turbine anywhere. We need to place it calculating that the wind will be sufficient. And this is how we can get an idea of how the global wind circulation looks like. Next, we'll discuss the local wind phenomena, which are influenced by the temperature differences between land and water. So wind patterns change due to the difference in heat capacity. Land heats up faster during the day than the sea, causing the warm air to rise over the land. Cooler air from the sea flows in to replace it, creating what we call a sea breeze. At night, the process reverses. The sea stays warmer than the land, and the wind flows from the land to the sea. So this is known as a land breeze. So these daily cycles of sea and land breezes are especially important in coastal regions where they can be harnessed for energy production. Understanding these local phenomena helps optimize wind turbine placement in coastal areas where breezes can provide constant wind energy. All right, so now that we talked about the basics, or let's say the introduction of wind energy, let's talk about onshore wind power in detail. So offshore wind power involves wind turbines that are located out on the land, installed on land to capture wind energy. It is one of the most common forms of wind energy production, as onshore locations tend to be more accessible and cost-effective compared to offshore alternatives, where offshores are wind turbines installed on sea, which we'll be talking more in detail about that technology. So advantages of onshore wind power. So as we said, lower costs. Onshore wind farms are generally cheaper to build and maintain than offshore wind farms. Lower installation and maintenance costs due to the easier access to the turbine. Moreover, there is easier grid integration. So there's a proximity to energy demand centers, meaning that it's easier to connect to existing electrical grids compared to if it was on the sea, for example, it might not be very convenient to do so. It is also a very established technology where onshore wind power is mature and reliable technology that has been implemented globally. However, with every technology, as there are advantages, there are also disadvantages or challenges. So the challenges of onshore wind power are, first, the land use. So wind farms require large areas of land, which can impact agriculture or wildlife habitats. So it's very important to choose a land that is not being used for something else, so we don't impact the ecosystem. It is also posing a visual and noise impact. So wind turbines can be seen and heard by nearby communities, which might lead to opposition in some regions where the local community might not be comfortable with such a visual and noise impact. And lastly, the wind availability. So the strength and the consistency of the wind on land is often less than that offshore, which can result in lower energy yields. So this is, of course, something to take note of. Now let's talk about the types of onshore wind turbines, because there's more than one type. First, we have the horizontal axis wind turbines, or also known as HOT. These are the most common type. The blades rotate around a horizontal axis, and these turbines are typically more efficient and more used in large-scale wind farms. They require strong, consistent wind and are built taller to capture higher wind speeds. Then we also have vertical axis wind turbines, which is the opposite. These turbines have blades that rotate around a vertical axis compared to the horizontal one, which is around the horizontal axis. So they can operate in varying wind directions and lower wind speeds, making them more versatile for urban environments or smaller installations due to their compact design. So let me show you some quick pictures. So this is an example of a horizontal axis turbine. You can see that the blades rotate around the horizontal axis, whereas for the vertical axis turbines, this is an example of a Savinius rotor, which, as depicted in the images, it operates with blades rotating around the vertical axis. So its design is characterized by its simplicity and ability to catch wind from multiple directions, making it ideal for urban and suburban settings. Unlike traditional turbines, the Savinius rotor doesn't need to be oriented to the wind, providing consistent performance even in areas with variable wind directions. Then we have another type of vertical axis turbine, which is the H-Darius rotor. Unlike the Savinius rotor, the H-Darius turbine uses aerofoil-shaped blades that are positioned vertically. This design allows it to generate more power due to its higher efficiency in capturing wind energy. It is well suited for areas with strong, consistent wind flow, and its compact design makes it an ideal choice for urban installations where space is limited. Moving on, we have the Delta Darius rotor, which is a variation of the Darius turbine design. So this turbine uses curved blades that create an elegant egg beater shape. The Delta Darius rotor is designed to maximize efficiency while reducing stress on the structure, making it suitable for high wind conditions. Its vertical orientation allows it to capture wind from all directions, making it a versatile solution for different locations. Additionally, like other vertical axis turbines, it can be placed in more compact areas, making it a practical option for urban settings. We also have a combination of the two vertical axis designs, which is the Delta Darius rotor coupled with the Savinius rotor. The Savinius blades shown in the diagram are particularly useful for starting the turbine at lower wind speeds, where the traditional Darius labels might struggle. The Darius blades, however, excel in high wind conditions, providing better efficiency. By combining these two, we can harness wind energy across a broader range of wind speeds. So this makes it a hybrid design, versatile and efficient for diverse environmental conditions. So you can see here where the engineering innovation takes place, where we combine two different types of vertical axis turbines. The other type of axis vertical turbine is as shown here on the screen. So this specific model is more compact and enclosed, which can be beneficial as well in urban or commercial settings. As you can see from the structure on the left, these turbines can be integrated into different environments like buildings or advertising towers. The diagram on the right highlights the technical layout, showing how the turbine is designed to capture wind from any direction, which makes it an excellent choice for locations where the wind patterns are unpredictable. All right, so enough talking about onshore wind power. Now we will talk about offshore wind power. So, unlike onshore turbines, offshore wind power involves the installation of turbines in bodies of water, such as oceans or seas. These turbines are positioned to capture the stronger and more consistent winds found offshore, which generally result in higher energy production. Although offshore wind farms are more costly to install, they offer significant benefits in terms of the efficiency due to the favorable wind conditions at sea. So offshore wind power offers several advantages. Firstly, the winds offshore tend to be stronger and more consistent, which means higher energy production potential. Secondly, offshore installations have a lower land impact since they are located in the sea, so they don't compete for land space and can be situated farther from population centers. This reduces concerns about visual and noise impacts, making them less intrusive than onshore wind farms. Despite the advantages, offshore wind power also comes with notable challenges. First, the higher costs. So offshore wind farms are significantly more expensive to build, maintain, and connect to the grid because of their remote locations. Secondly, there are also technical challenges. So, installing and maintaining turbines in harsh ocean environments presents considerable engineering and logistical difficulties. These challenges can impact both the project timeline and also the operational costs. So offshore wind power is a rapidly growing industry, especially in countries with large coastal areas and ambitious renewable energy targets. Here we can see how the wind power can be related to the wind speed. So we know that as the wind velocity increases, there will be a direct increase in the power with the equation shown here, which means that the higher the wind velocity, the more the power will be generated by the wind turbine. So let's talk about the type of offshore wind turbines. So we have fixed bottom turbines, which are installed on the seabed in shallow waters, so typically less than 60 meters deep. This is also the most common type of offshore turbine due to the stability and well-established technology. So example structures of this turbine include the monopile, jacket, and gravity-based foundations. Don't worry, I'll be showing you pictures of each of these examples shortly. Then we have the floating turbines. These are suitable for deeper waters where seabed foundations are not feasible, so over 60 meters deep. The turbines are mounted on floating platforms anchored to the seabed. This allows for more offshore wind farms farther from shore where winds are stronger and more consistent. So this is an example of both the fixed type and the floating wind. So the fixed type are these turbines are anchored directly into the seabed and are commonly used in shallow waters. So we have several foundation options for these turbines, such as monopile, tripods, jackets, suction caissons, and gravity bases. Each of these foundation designs offers stability in different seabed conditions. On the right, we have the floating wind turbines, which are used in deeper waters. So these turbines sit on floating platforms, which are anchored to the seabed using mooring lines and anchors. Floating wind concepts include designs like the ballast stabilized spar buoys, mooring tension leg platforms, and buoyancy stabilized barges, each catering to various depths and wind conditions. So to choose this type of foundations, this of course depends on the location, how deep we are going, and of course the wind conditions in that area. However, we can see that there's a lot of options, and this versatility allows offshore wind farms to expand further into deeper waters where the wind speeds are higher and more consistent, and this will result in more electricity being generated. So offshore wind turbines operate in the open sea, as shown in the picture, where they're exposed to harsh weather conditions, as depicted on the diagram on the left. So these turbines are designed to withstand a variety of environmental forces, including wave turbulence, extreme weather like lightning, and even ocean currents. On the right, we see an image of the offshore turbines braving strong waves. These turbines are engineered for stability with platforms that maintain buoyancy and strong anchoring mechanisms to the seabed. So this gives us the advantage of stronger, more consistent winds at sea, allowing for higher energy production. So offshore wind turbines require robust foundations to ensure the stability in different water depths. So as illustrated in the chart, the type of foundation actually depends on the depth and the water conditions. So in shallow waters, around less than 30 meters deep, monopiles and gravity-based foundations are commonly used. Monopiles, as shown here, are cylindrical steel tubes driven deep into the seabed, providing stability for the turbine structure. As we move into transitional waters, so up to 60 meters deep, we see the use of jackets, tripods, and tripiles. These structures offer more support in deeper water, where the seabed may not be stable enough for monopiles. In deep waters, over 60 meters deep, traditional fixed foundations become less feasible. Here, floating turbines are used, anchored to the seabed, but buoyant enough to remain stable in the ocean. This innovative design opens up new possibilities for wind energy production far offshore, as we said, And the two images here on the right show examples of how these structures are installed in water, highlighting the engineering complexity involved in offshore wind energy projects. So it is not a simple thing to actually install these turbines offshore. This diagram further breaks down the three main types of foundation used in wind turbines. So in the left, we have the monopile. In the center, we have the gravity-based foundation. And on the right, we have the jacket foundation. So this is just to give you a deeper idea about how different each foundation is. So the monopile foundation is one of the most widely used foundation in offshore wind turbines, especially in shallow waters. So the diagram on the left shows an even detailed picture of the structure. And on the right, we also have how these foundations are actually built and being carried. As for the installation process, it's actually quite complicated, but I've tried to bring some pictures to summarize this process. So in the top left image, which is image number A, you can see that the monopile is being lifted by a crane from a specialized vessel. In the next image B, the monopile is being carefully positioned at its installation point in the seabed. The bottom left images, so images C and D, these show the driving process, where the monopile is being hammered deep into the seabed. This process requires precision and powerful equipment to ensure that the monopile is securely fixed in place. On the right side, we have two images that demonstrate the final stages of installation. The transition piece is installed on top of the monopile, and once the structure is complete, it serves as the base for the wind turbine tower. The transition piece is also essential for leveling and final alignment. Once the monopile is in place, it provides the foundation needed for the turbine to handle environmental forces such as wind, waves, and currents. Next, we have the jacket installation. So the process starts with the installation of the foundation piles, as seen in the top left diagram. The pile installation frame is used to position the piles, and a hammer drives them into the seabed. Once the piles are securely in place, the jacket structure is transported by a heavy lift vessel, as shown in the top right image. This vessel carries the jacket to the installation site and lowers it onto the piles. The jacket is then secured to the seabed by connecting it to the foundation piles. The locating cone ensures that the structure is positioned correctly. In the bottom left image, you can see that the jacket is fully installed with the piles embedded into the seabed, and the top of the jacket is above the water level. So this structure is now ready to support the wind turbine tower and withstand the forces that it will face. So this is just another pictures of the different stages in the jacket installation, and some of the types of boats, for example, like a tugboat, or you can have a crane barge. You can also have a heavy lift vessel, a jackup barge, or a purpose-built up jackup vessel. So there's a lot of types, a lot of technologies. The point is, I just want to show you that this is a very complex or very detailed engineering process. And of course, the desired type of technology depends on the location and several other factors. Now let's talk a bit more about the floating foundation technologies. So we have the spar buoy, which is on the left here. Heavier components at the lower part are having the center of gravity below the center of buoyancy. And then we have the semi-submersible, where three or more columns are interacted together. Each leg contains ballast water providing static and dynamic stability. It can also be used in shallow waters. And lastly, we have the tension link platform, where the entire platform is below the water surface and it is smaller and lighter. So prototypes are still under testing for this type. And this is a different view of the three types of floating foundation technologies. As for their installation process, let's take the tension leg, for example. On the left, we have the pre-installation, where the wind turbine is initially towed by vessels to its designated location offshore. The platform floats on the water while being transported. Then we have the installation, which is on the right. So once the platform reaches its location, the installation process begins. So the platform is connected to the tendons, which are long tension cables that anchor the turbine to the seabed. As the platform sinks slightly due to the ballast and the tension in the tendons increase, structure becomes stable. The tension in the tendons hold the turbine firmly in place, preventing it from moving up or down with the waves. So this method allows for stable installation even in deeper waters, where the traditional foundations like monopiles and jackets are impractical. All right, with that, let us talk about some key statistics for wind turbines. So this chart illustrates the annual offshore wind installations by various countries, shown on the left axis, and the cumulative installed capacity, which is shown on the right axis from 2010 to 2020. So the United Kingdom consistently leads in offshore wind installations, followed by Germany and other European countries like Denmark and Belgium. Noticeable spikes occur in 2015, 2017, and 2019, where significant offshore wind capacity was added, particularly by the UK and Germany. The cumulative capacity marked by the red line steadily increased year on year, reaching over 25 gigawatts by 2020. This demonstrates the rapid growth and large-scale deployment of offshore wind power across Europe. So this growth reflects Europe's leadership in offshore wind energy development, with ongoing investments helping to drive renewable energy capacity across the continent. So here this map shows a more detailed offshore wind power developments in Europe as of 2020. So in 2020, 2.9 gigawatts of new offshore wind capacity was installed across Europe, contributing to a total capacity of 25 gigawatts installed by that year. The key projects include the Moray East and Kincardine off the coast of Scotland. We also have the Trenton Null, Hornsea 2, and East Anglia 1 off the eastern coast of England. Several wind farms in the North Sea, including Borssele projects and Frisal in the Netherlands, as well as Krijgersvlak in Denmark. The map also highlights several offshore wind farms under construction, indicating that there's a rapid expansion and future potential of wind energy in Europe. Here we have just a detailed breakdown of the offshore wind power in Europe. We see that the United Kingdom leads with 42% of the total offshore wind capacity. Germany follows closely with 31% of the capacity, contributing around 7,489 megawatts from 1,501 turbines. The Netherlands, Belgium, and Denmark represent 10%, 9%, and 7% of the installed capacity, respectively. It is also notable that the top 5 countries in offshore wind power account for 99% of all installed capacity. So additionally, we see that the North Sea dominating the distribution by sea basin, containing 79% of the installed capacity, followed by the Irish Sea and the Baltic Sea. This is just another slide which shows the growth trends and turbine capacities in Europe as well. Basically, we can see that from 2010 and 2020, the average size of windshore farms has increased significantly. We also see a rise sharp in the size of projects, with the average wind farm size reaching around 800 megawatts, which is a lot of electricity. This shows a growing trend towards a larger scale offshore projects. In the bottom, this graph shows the average turbine capacity in different countries in Europe. So overall, we can see that the cumulative development of offshore wind power, and this diagram shows focuses are actually on the water depth and the distance to shore. So the scatter plot shows the relationship between the depth of a water, which is shown in the y-axis, and the distance of the wind and offshore wind farms to the shore, which is the x-axis. We see that most of the operational wind farms are located relatively close to shore, within 50 kilometers, and in shallower waters, so below 50 meters. And this is just another table showing different wind farms, capacity, what are the type of support they use, if they want some sort of award, and some of the commissioning dates. So we can see 2023, 2026, 2024. So we can see that in the next coming years, a lot of wind turbine projects are being installed. And this is also a diagram that shows the investments and the capacity. You can see that the investments have increased a lot from 2020, 2010, and until now, and growing as well. All right. Here we just have another table that shows investments, so I'm just going to skip it. But yeah, this is just to show you that the countries in Europe particularly are the leading countries in the wind power technology. Okay, so I've talked a lot about Europe. What about globally? So we can see that even globally, we can see that the renewable capacity growth has increased a lot between 2005 and 2028. The green segment represents onshore wind, while the yellow highlights offshore wind. So we can see that onshore wind is currently, or at the beginning it was the most technology, but we can see that growing ahead or looking ahead to 2023 to 2028, we can see that there's a huge growth as well in both onshore and offshore wind energy. So this underscores actually the rising importance of both offshore wind in the renewable energy mix and also onshore wind. So this brings me to the conclusion of today's lecture. So to conclude, wind power, both onshore and offshore, play a crucial role in the global shift towards renewable energy. As the technology advances, wind energy is becoming more efficient, cost-effective, and capable of meeting a significant portion of the world's energy demands. We also see that wind power is a key solution for reducing carbon emissions and combating climate change. It provides clean, renewable energy without depleting natural resources or producing harmful pollutants. With continued investment and innovation, wind energy has the potential to significantly contribute to a sustainable and carbon neutral future. Offshore wind power in particular holds promise due to its vast untapped potential in deeper waters and stronger wind regions. So wind power as a renewable resource represents not just an energy solution, but a path forward for a more sustainable, greener world. All right, so with that, we have concluded our lecture, and now we're going to do a quick exercise to refresh everyone's memory. So the first question is, what is the main source of wind energy? So feel free to answer in the chat.
Some interesting answers, mostly A and C and D.
Well, I think this question is perhaps slightly confusing because not every answer is completely wrong, I would say. So yeah, I think maybe it's a bit confusing. I just realized. Okay, so we have some C's, we have some D's, we have some A, and we have a C and a D. Okay, interesting.
I think everybody's going to be surprised with the answer. All right,
All right.
Abdulqader, what is the correct
Okay.
answer?
All right. So perhaps, as I said, there's no direct or like correct answer, but I think I would say the answer is both the geothermal activity and the Earth's core heat. So as we said, from the different temperatures in the land and the sea, and also thanks to the sun as well. So technically, I would say both. For example, if you look at tidal forces, it's not directly correlated, but sure, I mean, tidal forces do have an impact on the wind turbines capacity. So I think all answers would be correct, sort of, but I would say if I had to choose one, it would probably between C and D. So that's the main reason why we have these winds is due to the Earth's different heating, thanks to the uneven heating from the sun, as I showed you in the diagram initially. So I would say, yeah, it's either between C and D for this one. All right, so thank you for contributing, and I apologize if the question is slightly confusing. All right, so let's go on to the second question. So what is one key advantage of offshore wind turbine? Is it A, easier installation than onshore turbines? B, stronger and more consistent wind speeds? Is it C, lower maintenance costs? Or is it D, close to population centers? Okay, so I think everyone is on B. We have a C and an A, but the majority is looking towards B. Okay, so I think everyone is agreeing. So yes, the answer is B. When we install offshore wind turbines, we can access deeper seas, and those regions we have stronger and more consistent wind speeds than on land. Number three, what is the primary challenge of offshore wind power? Is it A, higher installation and maintenance costs? B, lack of strong winds? C, visual impact on land? D, the limited energy potential? So we have an A, we have a B. So far we have A and B, okay, but mostly towards A. We have a A and a D, okay, that's interesting. Okay, so the answer for this question is A. So the main challenge is that because you have to install the wind turbines on the sea, and we saw that the installation process is quite complex. So this results in higher installation and maintenance costs. Question number four, what type of wind turbine is suitable for deep water installations? So is it a fixed bottom turbine? Is it B, a floating turbine? Is it C, an onshore turbine? Or D, a gravity-based turbine? So know that we're talking about deep water installations. So typically above 60 meters. I mean below 60 meters sea level. So we have a B, we have a A. Okay, so the answer for this question is B, floating turbine. So a fixed bottom turbine can be used, for sea, but not very deep. So usually, if it's deeper than 60 meters below sea level, floating turbine would be the suitable technology. And lastly, which of the following is not a benefit of wind power? Is it A, a renewable energy source? B, reduces greenhouse gas emissions? C, reduces reliance on fossil fuels, and D, generates power consistently regardless of weather. Okay, we can see that the answer is between D and B. Okay, we also have an A. So keep in mind this question is asking which of the following is not a benefit of wind power. So here we are not talking about the benefits, but rather what is the option that doesn't show a benefit of wind power. Okay, so the answer is D. So wind power, although it could be more consistent near the sea levels, it depends on the season. So it's a seasonal energy source. For example, wind power in winter is usually preferred, where it can produce more electricity, while in the summer, because in the summer there are lower winds, it will produce less electricity. But for example, solar energy on the opposite hand, in summer, solar energy would produce a lot of electricity, but in winters, because the sun is not usually there compared to the summer, so the wind power, the energy from solar energy will be different. So this is one thing to note, that these types of renewable energy sources are seasonal. So we need to optimize them based on the season that the weather is currently having. So yeah, that's all for today's presentation. So thanks for listening. And now I'll open the floor to the Q&A.